Prince Harry and Meghan have hit back at controversial biographer Tom Bower over his new book, which says Prince Harry was brainwashed by his wife.
And she goes on to Sky TV and denounces Harry as a racist and a bully.
Tom Bower's latest claims may have just triggered the most dangerous moment in Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage yet. According to reports, lawyers connected to Trevor Engelson allegedly sent material to Harry's circle, reopening questions Meghan thought were buried years ago. Now, royal watchers are asking whether Harry has discovered something that changes how he sees his wife's past. Critics call it overdue accountability, while supporters insist it's another coordinated attack. But if Trevor's silence is ending, what exactly was Harry warned about? So, what do you think? Has this controversy gone too far? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. The message Harry never expected. The latest controversy surrounding Meghan Markle did not begin with a television interview, a royal appearance, or another carefully staged public statement from Montecito. According to growing reports circulating inside royal-adjacent commentary circles, the situation escalated after legal representatives connected to Trevor Engelson allegedly sent sensitive material towards Prince Harry's inner circle. Almost immediately, speculation ignited across both Hollywood and London, spreading through media platforms that are usually quick to dismiss royal rumors. But this time, the tone shifted. What once looked like another recycled tabloid story began to carry a different weight, forcing renewed attention onto a chapter of Meghan's life that many believed had been permanently sealed behind palace doors. The renewed pressure arrived at a particularly fragile moment. Royal biographer Tom Bower re-entered public discussion with fresh commentary surrounding his book Revenge, once again placing Meghan's early ambitions under scrutiny. In recent interviews, Bower repeated claims that Meghan viewed Trevor Engelson as a stepping stone in her broader trajectory before eventually aligning herself with someone of greater global influence. His remarks, whether accepted or disputed, reignited long-standing debates about timing, intention, and perception. Bower also suggested that Meghan conducted careful research into Prince Harry long before their relationship became public. According to his account, she understood key emotional elements of Harry's identity: his complicated relationship with the royal institution, his enduring connection to Princess Diana's legacy, his affection for Africa, and his growing frustration with royal constraints. These assertions, while not new in royal commentary, gained renewed traction when placed alongside the current legal whispers involving Trevor Engelson. For critics of the Duchess of Sussex, the timing of these overlapping narratives felt impossible to ignore. Trevor Engelson had remained almost entirely silent for years, avoiding interviews, public commentary, and any direct engagement with Meghan's version of their past. That silence was often interpreted as detachment or an effort to move forward privately without reigniting old disputes. However, the emergence of alleged legal communication shifted that interpretation dramatically. Suddenly, silence no longer appeared passive. It appeared deliberate, controlled, and possibly strategic. Inside Harry's world, the implications reportedly became difficult to dismiss. Royal observers and commentators suggested that the involvement of legal representatives elevated the situation beyond typical celebrity rumor cycles. This was no longer about gossip columns or online speculation. It was about documentation, formal communication, and the possibility that archived material or correspondence from Meghan's past could resurface in ways that are difficult to contain. As the story spread, even longtime supporters of the Sussexes began asking uncomfortable questions. Why now? Why would Trevor's representatives re-emerge at this specific moment in time? And what exactly, if anything, was being communicated behind closed doors that had not been made public? The absence of clear answers only deepened the uncertainty, allowing speculation to grow in multiple directions at once. The deeper the discussion became, the more emotionally charged it grew. Some commentators framed the situation as a coincidence amplified by media's hunger for controversy. Others suggested it reflected unresolved tensions from a chapter of Meghan's life that had never fully been examined under public scrutiny. Neither position offered clarity, but both intensified attention. Within this atmosphere, Harry's position was widely portrayed as particularly complicated. Reports suggested a tension between personal loyalty and the instinct for institutional protection, between defending a private reality and managing a public narrative that is constantly under scrutiny. Meanwhile, Meghan's public image, carefully rebuilt over years of media engagement, suddenly appeared surrounded by renewed questions she had long moved beyond. And as online platforms, talk shows, and royal commentary channels continued dissecting every angle, one reality became increasingly unavoidable. This was no longer just a discussion about past relationships or celebrity history. The alleged legal communication had transformed Trevor Engelson from a distant former husband into a figure now positioned, at least in public perception, as a potential disruptor of the entire Sussex narrative, reopening questions that many assumed had been permanently closed. Was this only the beginning, or a carefully planned strike from the shadows? Who truly initiated the letter, and why now? And if Harry has seen the truth, what has he chosen to do about it behind closed doors? Or is something even darker unfolding? Keep watching. The man Meghan left behind. For years, Trevor Engelson existed only as a forgotten footnote in Meghan Markle's story. While Meghan rose from television actress to Duchess of Sussex beside Prince Harry, Trevor remained mostly silent in the background, avoiding interviews, public attacks, and royal drama. But according to growing speculation surrounding recent legal activity connected to his representatives, that silence may no longer mean indifference. Instead, it now appears to many observers like patience. The renewed attention on Trevor arrived after royal biographer Tom Bower repeated claims that Meghan treated relationships as strategic steps toward greater status and influence. During discussions about his book Revenge, Bower argued that Trevor had been a stepping stone before Meghan ultimately pursued someone more powerful and globally recognized. Those comments reignited interest in the timeline of Meghan and Trevor's marriage, bringing back old stories at the worst possible moment for the Sussexes. Their relationship once appeared stable. Meghan married Trevor in Jamaica in 2011 after several years together, long before royal titles or palace headlines entered her life. At that time, she was still building her career through the legal drama suits, spending much of her time filming in Toronto while Trevor worked in Los Angeles as a film producer. The distance between them reportedly became difficult, but few outside their circle expected the marriage to end as abruptly as it did. One story, however, never disappeared completely. Reports that Meghan returned her wedding and engagement rings to Trevor by FedEx after their separation resurfaced once again as scrutiny intensified. Critics viewed the story as cold and symbolic, while supporters argued it had been exaggerated over time. Still, the image itself remained powerful. It painted the collapse of the marriage as transactional rather than emotional, and it became central to renewed debates surrounding Meghan's ambitions and personal reinvention. As Meghan entered royal life beside Harry, Trevor moved in the opposite direction. He rebuilt his private life quietly in Hollywood, avoiding public feuds and refusing to challenge Meghan openly, even as global attention around her exploded. That restraint became one of the biggest mysteries surrounding him. Some believed he stayed silent out of dignity. Others suspected he simply wanted distance from the chaos surrounding the royal family. But recent reports involving lawyers and alleged legal communication have created a far different interpretation. Now, questions are growing over whether Trevor's silence lasted only because he was watching events unfold carefully from a distance. Some royal commentators believe frustration may have grown as Meghan's public narrative evolved, and earlier chapters of her life became less visible. The deeper suspicion surrounding the situation is not necessarily about revenge, but about control over history itself. If Trevor believes important details were erased, simplified, or rewritten over time, his decision to respond now could reshape how the public views Meghan's rise into royal life. And for Prince Harry, that possibility may be becoming impossible to ignore. The past no longer feels buried, and pressure keeps intensifying. Trevor Engelson's silence is finally breaking, but why now, after all these years of distance and reinvention? What changed behind the scenes of Hollywood's quiet corners, and could his version of events completely reshape Meghan's past and Harry's understanding of it as truths emerge unseen? Stay with us. Harry starts connecting patterns. Prince Harry had spent years defending Meghan Markle against critics, tabloids, and royal commentators who questioned nearly every aspect of their relationship and public life. Yet the atmosphere surrounding the Sussexes began to shift dramatically after reports emerged that legal representatives connected to Trevor Engelson had allegedly sent sensitive material to Harry's wider circle. Suddenly, old timelines, forgotten accounts, and uncomfortable accusations resurfaced with renewed intensity. What once appeared to be online speculation was now being discussed in connection with legal communication, archived records, and heightened public scrutiny. Placing Harry at the center of a growing storm, he could no longer easily dismiss or ignore it. The pressure intensified further after royal biographer Tom Bower repeated claims that Meghan had carefully studied Harry long before their romance became public knowledge. According to Bower, Meghan allegedly understood the emotional landscape that shaped the prince's identity. He suggested she was aware of Harry's lifelong grief over Princess Diana's death, his deep emotional connection to Africa, and his growing frustration within the royal institution. Bower also argued that Meghan recognized how isolated Harry often felt inside palace structures, especially during periods of increasing tension between senior royals. These statements immediately reignited debate about whether their relationship was built purely on love or also influenced by strategic awareness and calculated perception. For Harry, the timing of these renewed claims could not have been worse. Trevor Engelson's name began resurfacing across discussions, accompanied by renewed interest in Meghan's earlier relationships and the years preceding her entry into royal life. Reports referencing possible archived communications and legal conversations created speculation that Engelson may possess information capable of challenging long-established public narratives. Even without official confirmation, the mere suggestion was enough to generate widespread curiosity and concern, amplifying pressure around an already sensitive situation. Observers began questioning whether Harry himself had started reassessing earlier moments in a different light. Meghan had previously stated she knew very little about the British royal family before meeting Harry, presenting herself as an outsider unfamiliar with royal traditions and internal dynamics. However, Bower's allegations suggested a contrasting narrative, implying she had conducted extensive research into Harry's personal history and emotional vulnerabilities. Supporters dismissed these claims as reputational attacks, while critics argued that the resurfacing details pointed toward a more complex and deliberate path to royal life than originally understood. Inside royal circles, the unfolding situation reportedly drew quiet but serious attention. Palace insiders were said to be monitoring developments closely as online discussions intensified and media coverage expanded across multiple platforms. Some believed the controversy risked deepening existing divisions between Harry and the royal family, while others suspected the institution would maintain deliberate silence to avoid further escalation. This absence of official response only added to the growing sense of uncertainty surrounding the matter. As scrutiny continued to build around Trevor's alleged involvement and Bower's renewed accusations, the broader narrative surrounding Harry and Meghan appeared increasingly fragile. Questions that once seemed settled were now resurfacing with greater force, challenging previously accepted versions of events. Harry now faced a reality in which the past was no longer distant or controlled, and every resurfacing detail carried the potential to reshape how their entire story would ultimately be understood moving forward. And the question remains, who benefits most when silence finally breaks completely? Harry is suddenly forced to confront details he thought were long buried. But who is truly shaping the narrative around him? And why do these revelations feel so precisely timed? Has trust within the Sussex circle already begun to fracture beyond repair? Stay glued. Before the palace spotlight. Long before Meghan Markle became the Duchess of Sussex, before royal tours, Netflix deals, and global headlines, another version of her life was unfolding quietly in Toronto. It was there, during her years filming the legal drama Suits, that many of the questions now surrounding her public image first began to take shape. As scrutiny around Trevor Engelson and Tom Bower's accusations continues growing, attention has returned to those Canadian years with renewed intensity. To critics, Toronto was not simply the place where Meghan built an acting career. It was where she allegedly began building something much larger. At the time, Meghan occupied a complicated position in Hollywood. Suits gave her visibility and financial stability, but it did not make her a major star. Reports from that period often described her as ambitious, socially active, and determined to elevate her status beyond cable television. Toronto's elite social scene offered access to wealthy business figures, celebrity chefs, media executives, and influential circles far removed from traditional acting networks. According to commentators revisiting that era, Meghan appeared increasingly focused on entering spaces connected to influence, power, and long-term opportunity. This is where Tom Bower's claims became especially controversial. While discussing his book Revenge, Bower suggested Meghan approached relationships strategically, describing Trevor Engelson as only one phase in a larger pursuit of influence and recognition. He later connected similar allegations to Meghan's relationship with celebrity chef Corey Vitiello, claiming she ultimately sought someone with even greater international status. Supporters dismissed the accusations as unfair character attacks, but critics argued the timeline of Meghan's personal and professional transitions raised difficult questions that refused to disappear. Trevor Engelson allegedly witnessed much of that transformation firsthand. During the early years of Meghan's rise, he reportedly watched her social circle evolve rapidly as her ambitions expanded beyond acting alone. As Meghan's profile grew in Toronto, her marriage to Trevor reportedly became strained by distance, career pressures, and diverging lifestyles between Canada and Los Angeles. Yet the deeper suspicion surrounding the situation now is not only about the collapse of a marriage. It is about whether Trevor observed a deliberate reinvention taking place in real time. According to royal commentators, Meghan's public image during those years also appeared increasingly polished and carefully curated. Her lifestyle blog, public appearances, interviews, and social media presence projected sophistication, activism, and global awareness. To admirers, it reflected natural personal growth. To critics, it looked more like preparation for a future beyond Hollywood itself. That interpretation became even more controversial after claims resurfaced, suggesting Meghan had researched Prince Harry thoroughly before their relationship officially began. As the Toronto years face renewed examination, the city has become more than a backdrop in Meghan's story. It now represents a possible blueprint for everything that followed afterward. Every resurfacing detail, every revisited relationship, and every allegation connected to Trevor Engelson adds another layer to the growing uncertainty surrounding the Sussex narrative. The deeper investigators look into Meghan's pre-royal past, the more some observers wonder whether the royal chapter was ever truly accidental at all in the beginning. But if Toronto was only the beginning, how far did this blueprint truly go? And who first noticed it forming? And was anyone ever meant to see it clearly? And if this was a strategy, what comes next now that the stage is set? Let's find out. The legal threat no one could ignore. When the controversy surrounding Meghan Markle first resurfaced, many dismissed it as another temporary royal scandal destined to disappear within days. But the atmosphere changed dramatically once lawyers became involved. According to reports connected to Trevor Engelson's representatives, the situation had moved far beyond gossip columns and online speculation. Legal communication allegedly directed toward Prince Harry's circle transformed a private chapter from Meghan's past into something far more serious. Suddenly, questions about old relationships, personal timelines, and forgotten details no longer sounded like celebrity drama. They sounded like the beginning of a legal and reputational crisis. What made the situation unsettling was Trevor Engelson's approach. For years, he avoided interviews, public attacks, and media campaigns despite global fascination with Meghan's rise into the royal family. Instead of speaking openly to tabloids or television networks, reports suggested he chose legal representation and professional channels. That decision immediately changed perception. Critics argued that people chasing publicity usually seek cameras first. Lawyers, however, often suggest preparation, documentation, and caution. The silence surrounding Trevor no longer appeared accidental. It appeared deliberate. Attention quickly shifted toward what Trevor might still possess from the years before Meghan married Prince Harry. Royal commentators began discussing archived emails, text exchanges, photographs, and timelines that could potentially challenge public narratives surrounding Meghan's earlier life. None of the material was publicly confirmed, yet the mere possibility created pressure around the Sussexes. The deeper fear inside royal circles reportedly centered on records rather than opinions. Opinions can be denied. Documents are harder to dismiss once they become part of legal proceedings. The issue of non-disclosure agreements also became increasingly important. Many people connected to high-profile celebrities often sign strict confidentiality arrangements, especially after entering royal or entertainment circles. But Trevor's situation allegedly existed in a different category because his marriage to Meghan ended years before her royal relationship began. Legal analysts discussing the controversy suggested that retroactively restricting a former spouse would be extremely complicated unless separate agreements had been reached privately afterward. That interpretation fueled speculation that Trevor remained legally free to discuss parts of the past if he ever chose to do so. At the same time, reports of publishing interest and documentary discussions intensified the pressure further. Media companies have spent years pursuing royal stories connected to Harry and Meghan, making Trevor's perspective valuable because he knew Meghan long before palace life transformed her image globally. Even the possibility of future projects reportedly created anxiety inside Montecito, where insiders feared that legal discovery or public disputes could expose sensitive communications and personal history to enormous public scrutiny. For Prince Harry, the controversy reportedly became impossible to manage through public relations alone. A controlled image can survive criticism, but legal pressure introduces a different danger. Every resurfacing allegation, every archived timeline, and every mention of Trevor's representatives added another layer of uncertainty around the Sussex narrative. What once appeared to be a distant part of Meghan's past was now moving closer to the center of the story again. As legal pressure intensifies, everything begins to shift beyond control, raising unsettling questions. Who is truly protected when documents surface, and how far could archived messages reach, and what happens if NDAs fail? The answers may be far more damaging than anyone in Montecito anticipated. The silence around Montecito. The deeper the Trevor Engelson controversy spread, the quieter Hollywood seemed to become around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. For years, the Sussexes appeared surrounded by powerful celebrity allies, media connections, and influential supporters eager to stand beside them publicly. But as Tom Bower's accusations resurfaced and reports of legal communication connected to Trevor intensified, the atmosphere reportedly began shifting behind closed doors. What once looked like strong public support slowly started resembling cautious distance. Inside entertainment circles, exhaustion surrounding the constant Sussex controversies allegedly became harder to ignore. Executives, publicists, and industry insiders had already spent years watching the couple dominate headlines through royal interviews, streaming deals, memoirs, lawsuits, and family conflicts. At first, many in Hollywood viewed Harry and Meghan as influential figures capable of reshaping modern celebrity culture. But repeated controversies reportedly created growing concern that association with the Sussex brand now carried more risk than reward. At the center of the pressure was Meghan's expanding business image. Her attempts to build lifestyle and media ventures increasingly faced public scrutiny, especially as online criticism intensified around branding, public messaging, and media narratives. According to commentators following the situation closely, the renewed focus on Trevor Engelson and Meghan's past relationships arrived during a particularly vulnerable period for the Sussexes. Instead of moving attention toward future projects, the headlines dragged public discussion backward into unresolved questions from years earlier. Tom Bower's allegations added even more pressure. His claims that Meghan viewed Trevor as a stepping stone before pursuing Prince Harry continued circulating widely across television panels, podcasts, and social media discussions. Critics argued that the accusations fit a larger pattern surrounding Meghan's rise into elite circles, while supporters condemned the narrative as unfair and deeply personal. Yet regardless of which side people believed, the controversy itself refused to disappear. The more attention it received, the more difficult it became for Hollywood allies to publicly involve themselves without becoming part of the debate. Reports of internal strain surrounding the Sussex operation only deepened the perception of instability. Over time, multiple staff departures and restructuring efforts fueled speculation about tensions behind the scenes. Some royal commentators suggested the constant pressure from media attacks, business expectations, and public criticism may have created a difficult environment around the couple's projects. Others believed the Trevor situation intensified existing stress because it introduced an unpredictable variable neither Harry nor Meghan could fully control. For Prince Harry, the situation reportedly created a painful balancing act. Publicly, he remained committed to defending Meghan against criticism and protecting their family narrative. Privately, however, observers increasingly questioned whether the resurfacing timelines, legal discussions, and Trevor-related reports forced him to reconsider certain assumptions. The controversy no longer affected Meghan alone. It threatened the image of unity, loyalty, and trust surrounding the entire Sussex partnership. Meanwhile, the silence from celebrity circles became more noticeable than any public statement could have been. Few major figures stepped forward to strongly defend the couple as the controversy escalated. In Hollywood, silence often speaks louder than support, and that silence surrounding Montecito carried growing weight. As legal speculation continued building, and Trevor Engelson's name remained tied to hidden records and unanswered questions, the Sussex brand appeared increasingly isolated at the exact moment it needed powerful allies most urgently. As the spotlight begins to fade and alliances quietly dissolve, is this the moment everything starts to unravel behind closed doors? Who stepped back first, and why are once loyal voices suddenly silent? And most importantly, what truth is now too dangerous to defend? Stay tuned. The truth Harry cannot unsee. By the time Trevor Engelson's name fully returned to the center of the Sussex controversy, the situation had evolved far beyond old relationship drama. What began as renewed public discussion around Tom Bower's accusations was now developing into a far more dangerous question about credibility, trust, and the future of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's public image. Reports surrounding legal communication allegedly connected to Trevor's representatives created the impression that private history was slowly moving toward a public reckoning. Inside royal circles, Hollywood media, and online commentary spaces, attention shifted away from whether controversy existed and toward what might happen next. Three possible outcomes increasingly dominated discussion around the Sussexes. The first involved a controlled resolution behind closed doors. Some observers believed legal representatives on all sides could eventually reach private agreements designed to prevent deeper public escalation. In that version of events, Trevor Engelson would remain largely silent. Sensitive materials would stay out of public view, and Harry and Meghan could attempt to stabilize their image before the controversy caused irreversible damage. But even supporters of that theory admitted the pressure surrounding the situation had already grown unusually intense. The second possibility appeared far more explosive. If archived communications, personal timelines, or other records connected to Trevor ever became public through interviews, publishing deals, or legal proceedings, the fallout could reach beyond ordinary celebrity scandal. Tom Bower's repeated accusations about Meghan's alleged ambitions, combined with growing speculation about what Harry may have learned privately, would likely face even deeper scrutiny. Critics would argue the Sussex narrative had been carefully managed from the beginning, while supporters would continue insisting Meghan was being unfairly targeted. The public battle itself could become impossible to contain once competing narratives fully collided. Then there was the third possibility, the one quietly whispered about most often. Some royal commentators began questioning whether prolonged pressure from the controversy could eventually create emotional distance between Harry and Meghan themselves. The issue was no longer simply public criticism. It was uncertain. Reports surrounding Trevor's alleged legal involvement created the impression that Harry may now be confronting details, timelines, or perspectives he had never fully considered before. Whether true or not, the speculation alone placed enormous pressure on the couple's image of unity and trust. At the center of the entire storm stood Trevor Engelson, the one figure who knew Meghan long before royal titles, palace conflicts, and global attention transformed her life completely. Unlike commentators, journalists, or online critics, Trevor was part of Meghan's earlier years when her ambitions, relationships, and personal reinvention were still unfolding quietly in Toronto and Los Angeles. That history gave his silence unusual weight, and his alleged legal response even greater significance. The deeper fear surrounding the controversy no longer appeared to be scandal alone. Public figures survive scandals regularly. The greater danger was the possibility of credibility collapsing under the weight of competing narratives and resurfacing questions. As speculation continued spreading, one unresolved mystery lingered over everything else. What exactly did Prince Harry allegedly see in the material connected to Trevor's representatives, and did it change how he viewed the story surrounding his own marriage? The answer remained hidden, but the uncertainty surrounding it continued growing louder with every passing day worldwide. So what do you think? Did Trevor Engelson's lawyers expose something Harry never expected about Meghan's past? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.